I'd like to introduce the main speaker of this workshop. He's from Rockford, and his name is Dave. Dave what? E. I'll give you Davey.
All right.
Somebody called Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Been called worse and answered the less, so. Good orderly direction. I tried to reflect. I laid down to take a little snap, and had somebody, Debbie, I think her name was, says, "Wake me up at 3:25." I said, "I need 2 minutes to travel and 3 minutes to prepare." So that way, if I stay out of the way, usually something halfway decent comes out. For those who don't know, Paul is one of my sponsees. So I very often get to spend a lot of time with him. So last night we got to watch the sun come up. So we sat out by the fire and talked all evening. So I hadn't done anything that insane in a long time, and I'm paying for it today. So I told the people I was riding with that I'd sleep on the way home, and they kind of looked at me because I'm driving. So, but good orderly direction. Usually, what I have to do for myself is I'm a very simpleton. When I first got here, my vocabulary and my demeanor consisted of 4-letter words and behaviors. Not all dirty words, just 4-letter words. That's what I had created. So I had to have pictures drawn or touchy-feely things for me to understand. And what I understood most was what was fresh in my mind, and that was what I had just came from. The lying, stealing, cheating, manipulating, the conning and conniving, the streets, the hustling, and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So my sponsor, who I've chose for certain reasons, I'd reached a plateau in my recovery where I didn't need a buddy or a pal or someone to have dinner with or to hang out and have barbecues and play cards and all that stuff. I needed a guide to take me to the next level of where I wanted to go. I wasn't sure where that was, but that's what I needed to do. So this person is not my pal or buddy. They are traditionally what the IP talks about is that the good orderly direction that I need to get through the steps and the traditions. And he's always able to continue to challenge me. When I go to him with one question, he always gives me 2 or 3 to find the answer to the one question that I have. And what's made it simple for me is he always allows me to relate what I know best. And what I know best got me to Narcotics Anonymous. So I try to take that energy and turn it into a positive and apply that good orderly direction. One of the things he's taught me is I should know my definition of things. Because when I got here, my definition was totally different or distorted from what societies and or the people I hung around with. They somewhat had carried some same meaning, but the outcomes were different. For me today, good is not bad, positive, or pleasant. That's what I identify that with. And orderly is something with respect, discipline, and direction is just that. Again, some discipline, direction, something with a point of origin or a goal, something that I'm trying to achieve. Now, I don't know that I had good orderly direction before I got here, but I had some kind of direction, and I was willing to, a lot of times, on blind faith or on just pure hope, I followed by example. And I was one that if you showed me something, I would adapt it to my way of life as rapidly as I could so it would best benefit me. And that was the kind of direction I took. He reminded me, how many of us ever, like when we were kids, got a model of any kind, whether it was a car or a plane or whatever, dump it out on the table and go to working on it. And when we would get stumped or frustrated or whatever it was with it, we started busting pieces or it didn't look right, we would humble ourselves and pick up the direction. And that's what the steps and the traditions have given me in my life today, the basic text, the literature. I can do that. Now, being the good addict that I am, I still want to dump it all out on the table and go to work on it on my own without the instructions. And try to make the pieces fit where they don't fit. And I think if I force it hard enough, it'll either break or fit. And I always have to humble myself and go back to the instructions. The person I live with talks about it's like baking a cake. It's a simple formula, and if we follow these formulas, usually the cake will come out just fine without any negative repercussions. There's a little passage in the basic text, and I refer to this a lot because, like I said, when I got here, I didn't have a very high learning capacity, and I had to. This is where I got a lot of my answers because I couldn't understand when people talked. They talked in words that I didn't, anything with over 1 or 2 syllables I couldn't understand or follow along, so I had to use the text. And it talks about in there, for me, the simple direction that I need is what we call like the service worker's prayer. And instilling in me a sense of your will, not mine. If I keep that one little sentence in mind or in the forefront of my purpose, I usually have some type of positive direction. I've never gone wrong when I go with what the steps and the programs that Narcotics Anonymous has given me. Having that faith, be it blind faith some days, that sometimes all I got to do is exactly what you guys are doing. That can be good enough. That can be the direction that I need. And that's what I did when I first got here. I didn't know if I wanted what you had, but I was pretty sure I didn't want what I had. So I kind of just like followed around a couple steps behind you. And it's like, well, man, if you did that and got through it, maybe if I do half of what you did, I can get through half of what I'm going through. And that was the direction that got me through different things. Today, it comes a little deeper. It comes from within. It's doing the right thing for the right reason. And if I implement that in every aspect of my life, I don't have to ask for direction as often. And being a man, I'm never going to ask for directions. I mean, in fact, we busted a map out, and I'm trying to drive and read the map as we're, and the person that's up front's like, I'm like, it wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't be distracted. That's probably my biggest hurdle is humbling myself and asking for that direction sometimes. And what works for me is I have some pretty close, intimate guys in my life that know me no matter what. And they're able to give me that direction when I'm not willing to ask for it. I mean, they know immediately when I when I need to be given direction. And that's probably been one of my biggest assets is having that ability to be open with them. I mean, they know immediately, and and there's 4 or 5 guys that were pretty tight. And I don't mean just buddies, pals, friends, hang out, barbecue, stuff like that. I'm talking that know everything, that know the moment I'm not where I'm supposed to be, and are not afraid to say, hey, what's up, or sometimes just show up when I least don't want them to be around and just sit there and wait for me to, say what it is I got to say. And that's that divine intervention, that good orderly direction. Even when I'm not willing to ask for it, it's given to me. And I can get that. I mean, I can't speak enough of what Narcotics Anonymous has given me, or I should say given me the opportunity to achieve. The direction that it's endless. I mean, every situation I find myself in, every dilemma, every problem, every whatever it is we want to title it, if I follow these simple instructions, I've yet to fail. Yet to fail. And it states in our text, with the rigorous honesty and total abstinence, we've yet to see anyone fail. And that's all I got to do sometimes, is just show up and be honest. And no matter what, don't pick up. No matter what, And I've been able to accumulate some events in my life that were better excuses to use than I was using when I was using. And I don't know if they were more justifiable, but they were better than the excuses I was using out there. This would be a good day to use. This would not be a good. If you got paid, I got paid. Somebody, those were the legitimate excuses I was using. I've been through some major medical things, occupational things, family things, and I share this for the simple fact because the direction I've been given with Narcotics Anonymous and my sponsor and the steps and the traditions and the fellowship at large, I've been able to get through that stuff without picking up. picking up is always an option. It's just with the direction I've been given today, that option's a little further down the list than it was the day I got here. You know, it may never ever leave the list, but I give it the priority on that list, and I try to keep it as to the bottom of that list as possible. I mean, I don't want to forget where I came from, but I don't want to sit and reminisce so much about it that I go back there. I get direction sometimes when I least expect it. I left on the 3rd of May to go to Memphis via 7 states prior to getting there. We took the long way, and I got to experience what Narcotics Anonymous has to offer, both ends of the spectrum. Friday morning, I got a phone call on my cell when we left the restaurant in South Bend that a brother of ours that after 6 years decided he wanted to go get high one more time, and he did. He used one more time. We buried him the following Monday. On that same day, I got to visit an individual that celebrated 18 years on that exact same day. You know, it was a very emotional day. You know, one minute we're here and the next minute we're there, and a lot of times we were in between all that stuff. And until I got home and was able to journal the way I normally do, did I see the direction that I was given. And I was able to see what Narcotics Anonymous has to offer if I choose to follow or not follow. You know, and sometimes I want to step back and think, man, what's the message in this? You know, and because I want to get involved, and all I need to do is just sometimes just go with it, follow the direction, and I get the answers that I'm supposed to get. I don't always have good order. I don't always have good direction. But a majority of the time, I'm all right with the destination. And the key thing for me is that I picked up something along the way that allows me to not go that same way if it caused me pain or grief. I'm always able to get some kind of positive thing out of it. It's always an honor to be given an opportunity to share my opinion and my views of what the steps and the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous has given me the opportunity to achieve, and it's just that. I don't know who wrote it, I don't know if I created it or what, but life and death are temporary. Freedom is forever. And yesterday, not that it is important, but it is kind of to me, yesterday I had 13 years and 9 months that day. And that's due to the direction that Narcotics Anonymous has given me. Freedom is forever. We're all given the two things, life and death, guaranteed. We've all been given life because we're here, and eventually someday we're all going to achieve the other. Well, my sponsor that I've chosen to have today is, I'm entirely ready. I've been given the direction. I mean, and when you asked me, when I went to that was my major thing that I wanted. I mean, that was the direction I was looking for. I wanted to be entirely ready. Not that I wanted to die, or because by no means was I ready to go. There's things left undone, things I want to do, places I want to go. But I got to the point through writing the tradition. I'm entirely ready. This is my moment, and if this is my last moment, this is it. Now I'm not saying I've achieved what I was seeking, but right now I'm entirely ready, and that's due to Narcotics Anonymous. I sometimes get a little bit of that freedom that the text talks about, no matter what, if I don't pick up. And sometimes it's not picking up days, not picking up the ideas and the attitudes and the behaviors and the way of thinking, and sometimes I gotta stay out of the way of that. But I'm always able to get that direction by the people that I surround myself with. And when I say there's no other place that I'd rather be right now than where I'm at right now, no other place that I'd rather be. And when I feel that, I believe I'm receiving exactly what I'm supposed to be getting. The direction, the order, the peace of mind, the serenity, all that stuff that comes along with it. And it works. I can't emphasize that. Stay out of the way. That's what works for me. And not only do I have to be able to be willing to ask for that direction. I have to be willing to follow it, even though sometimes that I want to question it, and sometimes not believe it. I just try not to disbelieve it. Sometimes I just kind of, all right, that's what you think. That's what I'll do, And usually when I get to the other side or get through whatever it is I got to get through, I'm like, okay, it works. It's always an honor to be able to share at any type of Narcotics Anonymous setting, and I'm always grateful to be in an NA meeting. Thanks.
I call Jason.
Jason.
My family. Our next speaker is from Chicago, and she is ready to share, I guess. At the age.
Hi, my name is Patty, and I'm an addict.
Hey, Patty.
Grateful to be here and grateful to be clean. More than anything else in life, I'm grateful to be clean today. This has been an awesome experience. My first time here at Camp Mac, and I'm hooked. And I just want to say thank you very much for starting off this workshop. I got a lot out of what you shared. And I really want to thank, my girls Anita and Gina and Kathy and Patty and Sharon for agreeing to come down here with me. And I love you. It was just really special that we did this. And following good orderly direction. I didn't know I was going to do a workshop today. They came up to me last night at that, fire. And it's like one of those things, sign here, and I did, because I was taught, never say no to an NA request, When I was new, I took that really serious, I still take it really serious, but I thought it was like if I said no, then, I was going to relapse or something, I was really naive, when I came here. Because I didn't want to use anymore, I just didn't want to, I didn't want to use anymore. I still don't want to use, I think to take good orderly direction, or to have good orderly direction, you have to have an open mind, you have to be honest and admit that my way didn't work. And I had to accept the fact that, that I wasn't in charge. And that there was someone who I heard, or saw at these meetings, that were telling me their story and telling me their experience, strength, and hope, and telling me what they did, and they were happy, smiling, joyous, and free, and, I'm grateful to God that, a guy that I used to get high with took me to my first meeting, and he had 16 months clean, because maybe I would have never believed it, and I thought, I saw him 16 months prior, and he looked pretty rough, and then I saw him, I'm like, whoa, what happened to you? And it was Narcotics Anonymous, I'm an addict that didn't go to treatment, I'm an addict that was using 1 minute, and through the grace of God, sitting here the next. I'm the addict that I had no idea that this was a disease, that I had a disease. I didn't have an understanding of anything except for 24 hours prior or less than that, my disease was telling me that the kindest thing I could do was kill myself because there was no way out of this, that this was my life, and if it wasn't for that one addict who called me that morning in my 11th hour and say, how you doing, Patty? And I said, I'm not doing good. And he said, what's going on? I said, I'm sick. And he said, you want to go to a meeting? And I said, what are you talking about? NA, what's that? I'll pick you up, And he did. And he took me here. And that was on, March 3rd, 1985, and I haven't, had an opportunity or found an opportunity to leave, and I'm grateful for that. But to stay, I had to learn another way, and I had to learn, through these steps. See, I believe these steps take us to God, I mean, when I came around, they talked about good orderly direction because they were afraid to say the God word, you know what I mean? Or it could be good orderly direction, because it's written in our text, God, And I was afraid of God. I mean, I knew I pissed him off, I knew that I wasn't on his top 10 list, and I was ashamed and I was guilty. And I had so many of those foxhole prayers that, I knew that I had burned the bridge. And my God wasn't loving, caring, and kind, My God was scary, I was going to be in, I was raised Catholic, so I was going to be in that, purgatory place, you know what I'm talking about? That didn't sound good to me, And, but through the steps, especially step 2, when I came to believe, and I came to believe in a power greater than myself, greater than my addiction, and then I could create this God to be, I created this God that loves me, no matter what, that loved me as much right at this moment as he loved me when I was out there doing harm to myself and others. And that he was going to be there for me. I was his girl, and he had me. And through that, coming to believe in that I had this loving, caring God in my life. I was able to take a third step, and make a decision, to turn my will and my life over to the care of that God that loved me no matter what, was going to be there for me. Didn't care if I swore, wasn't holding no grudges, He just loved me. And I was able to make the decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of him. And then I had to accept the fact that my life was none of my business now. You know what I mean? That I just had to show up, to show up, and don't use no matter what, And God put people into my life to give me the direction. I think God, my God, he speaks to me through you. I mean, there's no accidents. I mean, I feel it. I mean, I know when I'm supposed to be following someone in these woods and having them show me this church and this tree and this town, I mean, I know it's not an accident. I'm not supposed to say no to that. I'm supposed to say, okay, let me feel this, let me experience this, I know that that's the direction, not being isolated and separated anymore, you see. The direction is to be free and to be out there, and to listen to my fellow addicts, and the people in the world, and listen to them and hear what they have to say, because there's direction. God just doesn't speak to addicts, I mean, I hear messages everywhere, I get direction through music, and I get direction when I'm at the, gas station sometimes, just, paying off something, you know what I mean? It's just like you can hear it if you look for it, if you're open. Because I think the whole purpose for me is about love and service. I think the reason that I have 12 steps in my life and some traditions in my life is for me to love and serve. That's the direction that I've been given. But I've got to go somewhere first, and that's why I have an 11th step in my life. You see, I have an 11th step so I can get quiet with my higher power. That loving, caring God. And I can get with him, and I can get honest with him. I can get quiet with him. And I can, and I work on that relationship. Out of all the relationships in my life, that's my relationship. And that allows me to have relationships with my sponsees, and with strangers, and with my family, and, with anyone. Because I'm not alone, Narcotics Anonymous, we say all the time, never alone, never again. I got that. I'm not afraid like that anymore. I'm not afraid to listen. I don't have to take everything, but I can listen to it. I can think it's okay for you. And that's what I like. I mean, it doesn't all have to be. It's not cookie cutter here. You know what I mean? You know, the steps are the steps, and we all are going to see, you know, work through these steps, and we're going to find those principles through those steps, and we're going to apply those principles of these steps if we want to stay, you know. But, you know, the direction that I feel that I've been given, the good early direction, is to love and serve, you know. And that's what it is, to be there for the newcomer and the old-timer, you know, to be there for all of us, you know, no matter what, no matter if you're a relapser 1,000 times, you know, no matter if you came in and you stayed. You know, no matter if you got time and you don't have no humility, you know. I mean, it's that we got to be there for each other, you know, and that's what it is. And we got to love each other. We don't have to like it. You know, I can't like a lot of stuff, and I can't do what I can't do, you know. But I'll tell you what, I know that if I don't, the direction I'm given, I will pay consequences. You know, I will pay consequences. See, you know, it's about surrender, you know, for me. You know, and I'm learning that all the time. I was on the line with my sponsor the other day, and she's saying, you know, from now on, Patty, that's all it is for you. You know, it's about surrender. It's about trusting God, you know. And, you know, it's a process. You know, I too, you know, we have lots of suggestions here in Narcotics Anonymous, and the bottom line is that you don't have to take them, you know. But my experience is that all the ones that I didn't take, I eventually took, you know. I didn't do a 90 and 90 when I got here. I got the direction to do a 90 and 90, but I didn't do it, you know. I did it when I had 5 years clean, okay. You know, the direction was, you know, to get a sponsor right away. I didn't get a sponsor right away. You know, I had a million sponsors and didn't use any of them, okay. But one day, I got that sponsor, you know. I mean, I was given a lot of good direction, but you know what, I wasn't capable of taking it, you know. And you see, you can't do what you can't do. You know, there's a process that has to take place. That's my experience, you know, for me. You know, I mean, I am the kind of gal that, you know, I must hit the wall, you know. Because I need the evidence that this is not working, okay? You know, even at 16 years clean. You know, pain I can't take too much anymore, you know, because I have a lot of experience with pain and recovery, okay? So now I get it, and I'm willing to get rid of it, you see? Because I want to surrender. Because I don't want it. That's the direction I've been given. This is the experience, you know, that I have. And, you know, we live and we learn here. You know, I haven't, you know, I mean, is there a perfect recovering addict? I'd like to see one. You know what I mean? There isn't. You know, there's a lot of great pretenders at times, and that's just their path. And like they say, if you don't get humble, you'll get humiliated. I've been humiliated before, too, in recovery. You know, thinking I know better, you know. But what I found out through getting back to God, because this disease will let me play God in my own life. You know what I mean? This disease, because there's denial in it, you know, one of the core components of this disease is denial, is that I'll think that, you know, no, I think God really does want this for me. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm doing the right thing. And you know what? It might be, I might be the wrong thing. But I'm doing it. But I find out at the end, if I learned from it, it was the right thing. Because then I have this experience. Because when someone else takes that path, I have a little direction to give them, you know, and say, hey, listen, you know, you can do what you want, but, you know, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to live and learn. You know, the only thing I've done right in the last 16 years and a few months is I haven't put a drug in my body, okay? I haven't used. And that's no small task, you know. But I believe that I'm clean today, and I've been blessed, you know, through the grace of God, you know, and I seek Him, like I said, every day I do my thing. You know, everyone has their own way of doing things. I have mine. You know, I do my 11 step in the morning. I do my prayer meditation. I do my readings, and I show up, and I hear and I listen. But like I said, the only thing I can say about that, I think it's all the direction that I've been given through Narcotics Anonymous is to love and serve, never say no, and don't pick up no matter what. And that's all I got.
All right, call Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Our family. Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let me know, for the tape can be turned off. Floor is now open for open sharing.
Thanks, Jason.
I'm going to call Dan. Oh, when I first seen this topic, first thing I could think of was God, good orderly direction. And probably the only thing the most important thing that I've got to share about that is the fact that when I got here, that was, I grew up in a fairly religious family orientation. I didn't know anything about God the way I have found God in the fellowship. My concept of God is completely different, and today my concept of God is good orderly direction. Doing the next best thing that He puts in front of me, and being able to, what I've heard Dave and Patty share, do the suggestions, be willing to do what I've got to do today to stay clean and show up, keep showing up. Took me a while to figure out that it was actually that easy, just keep doing the right thing, and I don't do the wrong thing anymore. I didn't know anything about what to do when I got here, and as long as I was willing to listen, and the other abbreviation or the other letters that I keep remembering that I had to figure out early in recovery too was HOW. And I say those stand for honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness, and that's how it works. But as long as I do the things that, as long as I'm willing to do what you guys say have worked for you, then that's all the direction I need. That's all the guidance, the next best thing. And I was hoping it wasn't going to rain this weekend, but it's not my choice that it's raining, and actually I don't have that much power. I don't even have to put myself there anymore today, so just it's really good. I showed up here a little bit late and started seeing familiar faces, and you guys made me feel at home again, and I see that love that I've seen here for a few years in a row, and glad to be here clean. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm Mo and I'm an addict.
Hi, Mo.
It's a real good topic. Thanks for sharing, Patty. I got a lot of what you said. I remember when I first came in the room to Narcotics Anonymous, I had a real issue with God. I didn't think that there was possible that there was a God. I walked in the rooms carrying a really big chip about, well, if there was a God, how could He allow these things to happen to me? How could He allow my mom to leave us at such a young age? You know, how could he allow so much garbage and abuse in my life as a child? You know, and that kind of thinking and those kind of feelings kept me using. You know, it's the stuff that kept me sick. So when I walked into rooms, it was like, well, there's no God. He's abandoned me if it is, you know. So when they talked about that good, orderly direction, I said, I can get with that, because it's not talking about God. And I said, that's what I need in my life, some orderly direction, you know. When I pray today, I ask for direction, you know, and not for things, but what's the path? Where do I need to go? What's your will, God, you know? And it helped me, because, you know, it's like you gotta find this higher power. You got to find it, you know, and it's like, okay, well, I'll just listen to you addicts, you know, you're a power greater than me and I can handle that, you know, and you'll give me direction, you know. And I had to ask people, well, how do you pray? Because I didn't know when I came in here. It's like, you know how to do, please, you know, get me out of this, God, you know, help me. I knew how to do that one, you know, but I didn't know how to ask for some peace and serenity in my life. You know, I didn't know how to, you know, to actually feel that. When I asked for, when I said, and when I meditated, you know, and it was like, man, what is this thing? And you people showed me. You know, if you ask enough people, you'll get that direction. But you got to be willing to ask. You got to be willing to become vulnerable and say, hey, I don't know everything today, you know. And that was difficult for me because I knew everything. You know, I had a plan for each and every one of you. All you have to do was ask me. I give it to you, not a problem. You know, but I don't know. It's just a really neat thing to be here, and I was thinking, you know, just recently in my life, I've been really kind of trying to stay on the path and stay out of the extremes. And one of the workshops this morning was about maintaining balance, you know, and being the addict that I am, I love to live in the extremes, you know. So probably in the last couple months, you know, me and my God have been really close, because sometimes I think that's all I have. You know, when I call people and they don't answer the phone or they don't return the call, it's like, you know, when people tell me that I'm never alone. You know, I still have my God with me if I choose to utilize him in my life. And I know today that there is nothing that I can't do or overcome without this power in my life. You know, and it's a real soothing and comforting thought and idea, concept, you know, that no matter what, it's going to be okay. You know, my ass can fall off and it's going to be okay. You know, I came in the door with one reservation, and I remember I said, you know, if anything ever happened to my son, my only child, you know, that's it, I'm out here. And I know today that even that would be okay. But no matter what, I have you people, you know, I have this program, I have my sponsor, you know, and that's a lot more than I ever had in my whole life. And that makes this process work. I love this place. And I don't know, when I got out of my car, I was having this really kind of messed up day Friday, and the week was really tense and, you know, a lot of stress. But when I put my foot on the ground and I got out of the car, it was okay. It didn't matter what else was happening, what had happened, what was going to happen. It was okay. You know, this is one of those places you need to keep coming back to. Thanks for letting me share.
Hello, everybody. My name's Tammy, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Tammy.
And I don't feel good, but I'm gonna get up here anyways. I was sitting here and I thought, what would I say? Because I know that I should give back. Everybody needs to hear something, and what came to me was someone was saying they didn't have a good idea of God. They had thought that he had abandoned her. And with me, I always had a God. Ever since I was real little, I would wish on the star at night, and then I would say my prayers. And my mom would do this with me when I was real little, and it continued until I got into my teens. And I really did wish on that star, because that was my way of wishing for, help me get through some kind of event, a skating event, let me win. But then I could also pray for the right things and patience, and I was taught that. And as I got married, I also was into the prayer. And I think the little star I didn't wish on that much anymore. And then I got divorced, and I was on my own, and I had my heart broken for real. And bad things entered, the picture, the drinking. And I was older, I didn't drink and I didn't use drugs when I was younger. So I became an addict much later in my life, knowing that I was an addict anyways. So I stopped praying. Things became so overwhelming to me that all the time that I was praying when I was little, and all through my childhood, and then all the way up until, after the divorce and I was on my own, everything seemed to go in the right spot. If I needed any kind of reassurance, I always could pray. And then things would come, and they always did. And it's just proof that once I got caught up into the world of addiction, that prayer was gone. It really was for about a good 5 years. And then, of course, I would pray to help me stop destroying my life, because I didn't know about NA. And if it wasn't for people in the fellowship, praying for me, that I probably, and my parents, then I wouldn't probably be here. But I am, because I prayed to find this fellowship, and through a friend who also is an addict, took me to my first meeting. So, I'm not going to sit here and say that I always am one of those people that pray every night. I never forget, because I don't. But I pray more than I do not, and I do to go to church. And I think I get up every morning, and I know right from wrong, and I try to follow that way. And there seems to be a voice inside that helps me do the right things today. So getting clean just refreshed that in my mind, and I never really had a problem with knowing that God was good and caring, and I'm pretty fortunate that way. And that's all I got to say.
Greg, and I'm an addict. Good orderly direction. I know for me, it doesn't matter how many meetings I go to. If I don't have God in my life, my higher power, my program sucks. And that's just how I gotta look at it. I can go to all 21 groups in my area every week, and if I don't have that higher power, my life is not complete. I was listening to what Patty said about having the sponsors and stuff like that. I had an addict tell me the other day, one of my sponsors stopped at their house, and I didn't even know who she was talking about, because I've changed sponsors like 4 times in the last 7 weeks. And it's, I don't know if it's because I'm not, I don't know why I'm bouncing around from sponsor to sponsor, and as long as I keep asking, point me one, I was talking this addict I've always looked up to in the program, come up to me today and he started asking me questions, something that a sponsor would ask, and I have never even considered this person for a sponsor. So I'm like, well, maybe this is the guy. I'm an addict. Can't have too many sponsors, I guess, I've always gone by on my service commitments. I mean, this God is just so complete. Last week I was supposed to meet someone for breakfast, and I had a flat tire, and just the night before somebody was talking about how they were laughing in the shower about how good life is. And the next morning I got a flat, and I looked at it, and I was like, and I had to walk to the store to get to fix the flat, and I'm walking down the street just laughing, because life is great. I got a flat, big deal. My cell phone shut off, I can't get a hold of the guy to tell me I'm late, big deal, and it's just, I love where I'm at, and it's all because of my higher power and because of my good orderly direction, and I got some awesome friends in my life that love me for me. I got 29 months clean. I just started working my first step, because I just was so busy helping my sponsees do steps way ahead of where I was, which was wrong, and I had to finally admit all that and say, hey, it's all, I'm not the sponsor you think I am, You've passed me in steps, Then I was moving, I wasn't moving, I was moving, I wasn't moving, and until I finally turned it over 100%, I've always had this little bit of chaos and turmoil in my life, and the last 60 days has been just friggin' sweet, and it's because I've stayed put, and I've listened to one person, and that's the one person I talk to every morning and every night, and that's how I got to keep it, as much as I tried to fight it. That's why I keep it the way I am now. That's all I got.
Family, my name's Mark, I'm an addict. I looked at this topic and I remember the day that I received my 1-year token, and after they gave it to me, I felt like a kid at Christmas. I mean, that's the only way I can describe that pure joy that I felt, because it was something that I did for myself. And there was this year. And dude that gave me the token said, is there anything that you'd like? And I said, yeah, man, I don't know what the hell God is. And it freaked me out because I was going to meetings, and where I was, they would just choose a step, we'd break up into little tables and stuff, and they'd choose a step, and it seemed like it was always a third step, man. And I would go, and I wasn't using, I wasn't drinking, and I was going to meetings. And I would think, man, if I hear this God thing one more time, that's it, I'm tripping. I can't do this God thing. I don't understand it, I don't want to. And I couldn't accept it. That was a big deal. I couldn't accept it. And like Patty, she was talking about being a Catholic. I guess me too. I'm a recovering Catholic too. I don't know. There was this whole thing, that the God was a punishing thing, And what I've learned, because for me, the way I learned was the first 3 words, the first 4 words in step 2. We came to believe. And it took me a long time
to get to believe, because I wouldn't get out of the way. I would talk, or people would talk about, in the third step, surrendering. I ain't giving nothing up, man. I run this. Surrender is a sign of weakness, but it's what I've learned is, and what I try to pass on is, when you truly reach the concept of surrender, you gain a strength that is so deep, because it takes me out of the way. Surrendering takes me out of the way. We were talking about a boat ride in the lake, and like if the boat flipped over, not letting go of the boat, and the thing of it is, if you let go of the boat, you're going to bob to the top, by quitting fighting. And that's what surrendering is for me today. I don't have to fight anymore. I don't have the answers. I sometimes forget the questions, but I know that if I pick up one foot and put it in front of the other, that it's all going to be okay, that I don't have to use today. And that for me is a miracle. Sometimes I will be sitting in a meeting and people will be talking about doing the next right thing, and I have to flip the page over and say, I don't know what that is, but I know what it ain't. I don't know what good orderly direction is sometimes, but I know what it ain't. And I've been given the tools, and I know where to go today to attempt to get that good orderly direction. And for me today, I try to do the 11th step, the 10th step to the best of my ability. And because of coming to meetings and putting one foot in front of the other, I have reached the 12th step. And when I first came in, I went from like 1 to 12. I didn't need none of that shit in the middle. That was for y'all. I didn't need none of that. I take this 1, take 12, okay, let's rock. When I finally got beat down enough, when I was able to live through the pain, I guess today for me, true spirituality is allowing you to seek your own higher power. Not this morning we were kind of talking about that rigidity in recovery. If I'm imposing my higher power on you, I'm really imposing my will on you. So true love is allowing you to attain your own spirituality. That's the bottom line for me today. And when it's all working like that, it's really beautiful. And whatever road you choose, as long as you keep attempting to gain spirituality, God bless you in your journey. That's all I got. Thanks. My name's Mark. I'm an addict. I don't know if I'm going to make sense because I just woke up from a nap. That's probably only part of it, but I'll keep it short. When I came into this fellowship, I noticed some people were glowing and some weren't. Some people were just staying clean. Some people were giving their life to this program, which when you do what the program asks of you, you find out what God is, and you develop a relationship, and you start getting God more in your life on a daily basis. And some people would complain and moan and just, it still sounded like the world was out against them, and other people could be going through a similar difficulty. And were very buoyant and optimistic, and they knew they were going to get through it. And I guess what I'm getting to, I'd seen people that had a sparkle in their eye when they came in here, and those were the people that had faith in God. And I wanted what those people had.
And I guess through my life I went through periods in probably my teens, early 20s where I felt I was an atheist, and as I got older, I guess I was kind of agnostic. When I was in my mid-20s, I got an associate's degree. One of the electives was comparative religion class because I was somewhat curious, and there's for me, God is a gut feeling that it's going to be okay. Whatever it is I'm going through, when I have God in my life, when I allow this to happen, it's just a gut feeling that it's going to be okay. And also when I have God in my life that I feel closeness to, I have a lot of gratitude. It's just, it's really hard to describe, but it's just, for me, it's a feeling and an energy, and I don't think in this lifetime I will know and have figured God out 100%. That's quite all right. It just is. I don't believe my choice after this life is heaven, hell, or purgatory, and that's my belief. And I guess I'm just here to say, if you don't pray on a daily basis, start doing so. It starts. That allows you to start getting some of that inside job of feeling better. I just know that it works, and that's where it starts. And to the best of my ability, I pray a few times a day, and it's real short, but it's sincere. And it continues to give me a good feeling at a gut level, which other parts of this program also do, which the jugs never did. That's all.
Thanks very much.
And I got called Jason. My family. I'd like to thank everybody that shared. Heard a lot of good things. And I believe it was kind of a God thing that I got asked to chair this workshop. And the way I got here this weekend. And I'm real grateful for that. That's all I got. If you please help me close with a group hug, Serenity Prayer, please.